So thank you so much, Toni, for joining me today on our coffee chat. And in this conversation today, we're going to discuss a little bit more about international shipping and specifically with PostNL. So to begin, may you please give us a quick intro on who you are and a bit more about the company?
Yes, my name is Toni Morgado, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at PostNL. I've been with the company for over 18 years. My beginnings were right from the get-go. I was in customer service, then I moved into inside sales, and most recently outside sales as the Business Development Manager. So I'm responsible for selling PostNL services here in Canada, right across the nation. I've had the pleasure of working with some great customers and alongside in offering them worldwide services and allowing their businesses to grow. Because as we know, as a Canadian e-commerce company, once we tap into the Canadian market, then we want to expand globally. And how do we do that? We use a company such as PostNL to help us with our shipping needs globally.
What's brought upon this conversation is obviously a very new and exciting service that PostNL has launched with us to give our Canadian e-commerce sellers, mainly for shipping to Great Britain and Australia. Can you tell me a bit more about that and why it's such big news for the Canadian e-commerce sellers?
Yes, definitely. So our mission statement here at PostNL is to connect without borders. In addition to all our international services, we have launched what's called Spring Direct. And Spring Direct, we're using a hybrid solution for Spring Direct. We're offering both a commercial and a postal solution for that. And by that, I mean that we will receive your package and we will get it into the country that it's going to, in this case, Great Britain or Australia. And then once it gets into that country and it's cleared through customs in those countries, then it becomes a domestic parcel and is being delivered by the local post offices, mainly the Royal Mail for Great Britain and the Australia Post APG for Australia. By doing this, what we've noticed is we can take advantage of some synergies. We can decrease our costs. And as far as our customers are concerned, they're seeing better transit times and they're seeing more traceability and visibility on their packages once they get into the country of final destination.
So from our end on our customer support channels, in the last few weeks of launch, I've already heard really great and positive news in terms of the end recipients understanding that it's going to be their local post office. Again, Royal Mail and Australia Post being names that they're familiar with, doing the final mile delivery. You mentioned this just prior, but Toni, what's your best explanation for what final mile delivery is?
So final mile delivery is who is taking care of your package at the very end. So who will be delivering your package? Here at PostNL, what we do is most of our material going internationally gets delivered to our post office in the Netherlands, and that's our main hub. From there, all the material is consolidated and then goes to the postal operators for final mile delivery. By doing that, what we've done is PostNL has contractual agreements with post offices right around the world. We have 190 post offices that we tap into, and through those contractual agreements, we're able to drop the material off at the local facilities for final mile delivery. So each of your parcel will always be delivered by the postal carrier of that particular country, be it France or Germany or Brazil or any other worldwide destination.
So since these shipments sound like they go through such a journey, like originating from Canada all the way to Australia, for example, how important is it for you to encourage these online sellers when creating their label to include contact details for their end recipient?
It is imperative, and I cannot stress this enough, to include as much information on the address label as possible. We do encourage and we do really want to see full address details, contact telephone numbers, contact email addresses, especially in today's digital world. What happens is once the shipment goes into the post office of delivery, if there's duties and taxes to be collected, if they're in a condo building and they can't get a hold of the recipient, having contact details such as a telephone number or an email address, the package experience is so much greater if you do have those contact details. There's many post offices, what they do is that if they know that there's a package coming to them and that this package needs to have duties and taxes collected, they will email the recipient because they know exactly what the contents is, what the value is, everything in advance. And they will say, listen, you know what, that you owe us €5 for the duties and taxes on this package. Please pay in advance so that once the shipment gets into our country, it will clear customs and be delivered that much more quicker. So it is very imperative that as much detail is available as far as the addressing and any contact information that's available.
That's new information for me as well. I wasn't aware that the post offices could actually email contact you prior to the delivery of the shipment, so you can get everything done, know that your shipment will be delivered at your doorstep as planned, versus calls back and forth to customer support hubs, trying to figure out where your package is, where you're going to pick it up, and what day and time it's available. So as you mentioned, very imperative to have full contact details for the end recipients to make sure they have a good delivery experience. They'll come back to you to shop for more items, but also to make sure that things are transparent when it comes to any customs duties, fees that may be applicable.
The old-fashioned way of doing this is that the post office would actually leave you a card at your doorstep and say, we have a package for you, come to this location to pick it up or to pay the duties and taxes so it can be released to you. And this just adds unnecessary delays, unnecessary times, and frustration, because not everybody's at home and you don't know when you're going to get the card or if the card blows away or whatever.
Yeah.
So, contact details is critical to the delivery of the package.
Definitely, especially with, again, that international delivery. You do not want your item sent back halfway across the world if you're looking to order it anyway. So a bit more about international shipping. Last year, we learned a lot about IOSS. So what are some of the benefits with IOSS, shipping with PostNL?
Okay, so IOSS is called Import One Stop Shop, and it came into effect July of 2021. And that is when all the EU countries got together and decreased the threshold for importing of goods outside of the EU. Previous to that, they had a €20 threshold. So after July 2021, they reduced that threshold to basically zero, which means that any goods entering the EU from outside of the EU with any value can be assessed for duties and taxes. The IOSS system was put in place for marketplaces to be able to collect the duties and taxes in advance. Once the duties and taxes is collected through an IOSS program, the marketplace is given a 10-digit number. It starts with an IM and then 10 digits. By including the IOSS number on the package with PostNL, you will receive a label that has the IOSS number embedded in the package, and it will show the receiving country that duties and taxes have already been collected on that package. Thereby, once it gets into the EU, it's in free circulation to be delivered as quickly as possible. So there's no customs clearance needed on it. There's no duties and taxes to be collected on it. It goes into the system and goes green line into delivery of the package. Stallion has done a great job in integrating the IOSS into your systems, and we encourage all your customers to continue putting the IOSS numbers as part of the label. One thing that I do want to mention is please do not write the IOSS number on the outside of your label. The IOSS number is a secure number that is available only through the marketplaces, and it's a private number. So we do not encourage you to handwrite the IOSS number. We would like you to embed it in part of the label. What seems to happen at times with certain post offices is even if they see the IOSS number, if it's not embedded as part of their scanning label, what they try to do is they try to collect duties and taxes another time. So the recipients has already paid for duties and taxes. They might be forced to pay again unjustly, but things occur because it's not the proper way of doing it. So we encourage you to put your IOSS number as part of the label and do not handwrite it onto the label after the shipment's ready to be handed over to Stallion.
Exactly. So as you mentioned, it's a digital world now. And now that we've included that form field last year when IOSS was introduced, it's actually meant to help streamline the process and, again, help the shipment's journey, since it does pass through different sets of hands and facilities. So when it's not shared digitally and it's handwritten on the label, it's as if we would never suggest writing your SIN number on any of your labels as well. So it's the same thing for privacy, but also, again, to make sure that the recipient doesn't get dinged twice for the duties and taxes when importing. So including it in the form field is very, very imperative. And it actually helps by the time it enters the local post office system, things are already taken care of and the recipient will receive their parcel as planned without any additional action required. One of our last questions, and this comes again from our customer support channels as a frequently asked one, is what are some of the main differences between untracked and tracked postage?
Untracked is basically an untracked service whereby the recipient can only see tracking events until it enters the country of destination. We call it more of a semi-tracked service because there is an acceptance scan once it arrives at PostNL Canada. There's an acceptance scan once it arrives at PostNL in the Netherlands. And there's also an acceptance scan once it arrives at the post office in that delivering country. From there, that's when the visibility stops and the package gets delivered with no acceptance scans or delivery span. Whereas with a track package, the visibility is right from end to end. So until the package gets delivery, you will see acceptance scan. If the package gets held up in customs, for example, you will see a scan at that. Once the package is released from customs, you'll see a scan. So we have 12 scanning events for an end-to-end track package and only 5 scanning events for an untracked package.
So as you explained, once it leaves Canada and arrives at the local destination country, that's when the scanning stops occurring for untracked postage. Whereas for tracked postage, you're still going to see multiple events and possibly even when the vehicle is out for delivery. So you'll really get a full idea of exactly when you'll expect your package on which day.
Exactly. Untracked is obviously more economically priced than the tracked event. So we encourage you to, based on the value and what your customers are expecting, that's how you should send your packages.
That's right. I think it's important for us to have both options available in our platforms through you. However, it always does depend on the expectations these sellers are setting with their consumers and their customers. And if you're giving them 2 options, something more budget friendly, that's going to be untracked, they should understand that certain tracking events will not be available once delivered to their country. Perfect. So thank you so much. I think our viewers today have learned a lot specifically about IOSS, why it was put into place, and more information and more support when thinking of why they need to include full contact details for delivery of shipments. We explain this through our customer support channels ourselves, but to hear from a representative like yourself, Toni, makes it that much more important to send the message home to make sure it's a good delivery experience for everyone involved. Do you have any other last comments before we end today?
No, I just wanted to maybe just spend a minute just talking about PostNL itself. We're a 200-year-old company. We're obviously the Dutch post office, and our mission basically is to connect our customers to ship worldwide in a sustainable manner that is also cost effective. Our tagline is connecting without borders. As a logistics company, we understand that we have an environmental footprint, and what we are trying to do is to reduce that footprint or offset that footprint. And we have different initiatives right now to try to do that. One of the biggest initiatives is that we're reducing our use of plastics in all our warehouses. We are using more sustainable material and paper material inside our warehouses. And most of our vehicles right now in Europe are electric vehicles. So we are trying to reduce the footprint as much as possible. And we're proud of the fact that we have been awarded the Dow Jones Sustainability Award for the past number of years. And we're very proud of that. And we'd like to continue to reduce our footprint on the environment while still be able to maintain the level of services that we have.
Perfect. I think sustainability and continuous innovation is what really sets PostNL apart in my mind and for some of our users. And hearing about this new service, which our Canadian sellers are, again, very appreciative to have to help with their international shipping, but also to know that it's something that's sustainable. And with the 200 years behind on your back, I don't think we're going to see PostNL go anywhere in the future. So we're really, really happy to have this partnership between Sally Express and PostNL. And we're excited for more things to come. Again, with this service, it's just one thing. That's still many, many things coming our way.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.